Hello, this is my internship presentation for HAND, Homeless Action Network of Detroit, for the semester of summer 2023. My name is Garrett. I'm an incoming junior at Michigan State University as of the summer of 2023, majoring in economics with an interdisciplinary minor in Asian studies. I'm in the Honors College, and my academic interests pertain to policy, the political side of economics, and my career goals align more with those in the nonprofit sphere. To give an overview of my internship, before I go into details, I have this semester timeline. In late May, at the start of the internship, I focused on training as the other interns did, which involved a lot of videos and getting a feel for how HAND works as an organization through attending some meetings. Most of these videos pertain to current events, that being the CAM transition, introducing me to what CAM is as well as what responsibilities it entails. I was also given some information generally about workplace practice like policy writing and inclusion training. Plus, I got to roughly lay out what I would want to achieve or learn about at the end of this term, which would help guide what tasks I got to do. That I'll explain in June. In June, I started involving myself in the work groups, namely the newsletter, social media, grant opportunities, and bulletin work groups, with the addition of researching e-learning material content creation platforms, which I'll go into more detail later. Most of these were in line with the goals that I gave on my work file, which interns would be referring to constantly throughout the semester. My goals were that I wanted to see how nonprofits function, such as like behind the scenes work that goes into delivering newsletters, for instance. That first goal works in tandem with another goal, being grant writing, since that is how nonprofits can obtain funding. My last goal was to find out how nonprofits market, / generally how organizations have to market. I started off at first with grant research and meeting minutes in June for the most part, before things ramped up in July. In July, I did roughly a post a week to be posted on Meta Business Suite, or Instagram and Facebook if you're not familiar with the platforms. And I created a newsletter supplement for a given week when others weren't available. This is when I took the research I did previously for e-learning platforms and utilized it by contacting representatives for pricing options. I learned quite a bit in this time, and I felt that even if it was quite hectic with the transition going on, I felt like I was able to contribute to make the process just a little easier. In August, I finished my HMIS courses and became certified, as well as created course materials to be exported using the previously researched e-learning platforms. Around this time, I also began work on a bulletin for September, with Hispanic Heritage Month being the theme. Additionally, I finalized my portion of the grant application. I was in charge of the project summary, and it was a long process of feedback and rewriting. My tasks include social media work, which you have some examples on the top there, e-learning content creation and research, grant research, writing, and meeting minutes. Social media work was based on a schedule where I chose to post on Tuesdays. It was a process of researching for an idea or assigning myself one from a list, creating a post on Canva from scratch, getting feedback, and then scheduling it for a certain day to be posted at a time where engagement was at its highest, which was usually 1 p.m. This process was essentially the same for the newsletter supplement I created and the bulletin to a certain extent. E-learning, content creation, and research I'll elaborate more on later. Grant research and writing was initially research, as I was looking through a compiled list of grants and making a recommendation myself from my own knowledge about what would satisfy our budgetary requirements. Later on, it was formalized as a work group, and after some initial research, we committed to a couple of grants. As mentioned previously, I was in charge of the project summary, which included a statement of need, specific costs, and timing and budgetary requirements. I learned a lot through the process and a lot about HAND's position as an administrative entity in the Detroit area, surprisingly. And through attending a grant writing workshop, I learned to magnify and create a compelling narrative. Finally, meeting minutes. I mainly offered backup, though it had involved a lot of breaking down a meeting into usable notes for those who are unable to attend. This being done by taking note of the presenter, their topic, and generally what information is being conveyed, with the time being taken on the side. I personally transcribed a lot so I could help other interns with any sections they might have missed. My most memorable moment was probably going to the hand offices in Detroit to pick up a laptop. It was a hot day and the wildfires were at their worst, so I couldn't go to Detroit without wearing a mask given that I was coughing so much. It was quite a nice and quaint office, and I was glad to see the desks of the interns that would work there had we not been virtual. I also got to meet my supervisor and the program assistant, which was also quite nice. For my most memorable task, I chose social media because I felt as though personally it changed my mindset around social media. Instead of being focused on the numbers, it was more about getting a message across to some people, and even if it's not too many people, it feels good to know that some people had at least seen it. In short, I felt like through this marketing, I attached less stakes to every post. Not only that, but I think this was probably one of the only tasks where I could be creative with a lot of what I posted. As you can see by the variety on the left, there were a lot of ways to get a message across, and I just had a lot of fun experimenting with elements and colors especially. My most advanced project was probably the whole e-learning research and content creation process. Again, you can kind of see some examples of my work on the left. It was a multi-step process, and it started with creating a table, going online to find websites that provide content creation services that were engaging, just more research basically. The priority was first and foremost to find a website that would offer animation and avatars because those were seen as the most visually appealing and engaging to users. From there, through a few subsequent meetings with my supervisor, we narrowed down my best choices and tried them out. Trying them out involved making multiple demos to sort of just like test the technical capabilities of each software or platform, if you want to call it. And after that was all said and done, we went to meetings with representatives and the sales departments. We had meetings with them and received pricing, and I had used some of the software afterwards to create courses that would be used on our LMS or learning management system. This included courses on how to use QuickTime, which is our timesheet software, as well as how to facilitate a meeting, how to write an agenda, and policies and procedures for meetings / the COC board. In total, I worked 216 hours. In terms of career interests, being that I'm still going into junior year, I have yet to completely get my foot in the door when it comes to career interests. Though, as I mentioned at the very beginning with my introduction, I'm more inclined towards nonprofit work and anything that has to do with policy or economic conditions. I felt like I wanted to get myself involved with some kind of process of policy, even if it's not strictly legislative or political, as it is like on a statewide or a national basis. Political work is appealing, though it's not really my end-all be-all right now. I would say this experience working as an intern for hand was more than enough in getting me a feel for what the nonprofit work environment and workflow is like. I learned a lot about, like I said, how organizations need to apply for funding, need to consider everyone's opinion by setting up committees and work groups and stuff like that. Not only that, I also learned generally about how homeless response systems work and was able to view much of the situation from the perspective of an entity that manages a lot of it. And I wanted to say thank you very much for this opportunity. This was extremely valuable, and I feel as though I've learned well beyond what I could have even imagined going into it. A special thank you to the communications coordinator, my supervisor, and all other staff members for being great role models and for giving me these experiences. My contacts are this number and this email shown on the right, and my resume is on the left. Up to date as of August 2023. Once again, thank you very much.